What is going on, everybody? It is Dylan with Astrodfs DFS, bringing you a brand new video. Today's video, I'm going over Week 8's XFL DFS main slate first look. I apologize about the lack of content last week. Ended up having to work more, so I will try to get some more videos out for you guys this week to compensate for that. So let's take a look at it. Week 7 was definitely interesting, and Week 8 has some really crazy playoff scenarios that could happen. So Vegas is officially out. Arlington, Orlando is a huge game, believe it or not, if Orlando wins. Houston, San Antonio, another big game if San Antonio wins. And DC, Seattle. If Seattle wins, that North Division is going to be crazy if St. Louis can win as well. So, let's take a look at the quarterback play. Ben DiNucci up to 12K. AJ McCarron at 11.7. At this point, I'm picking AJ McCarron over Ben DiNucci. His numbers have been better. The matchup is definitely better. And it's a safer play for paying up for a quarterback, especially with some very much uncertainty for the rest of the quarterbacks in the league. So Jordan Ta'amu is another guy that we know is starting. Has an opportunity against Seattle to get some points up. Early in the season, week 1, actually, they played each other, and DC came out with the win. But you look at Jordan Ta'amu's numbers, they weren't that impressive, but it wasn't until week 3, week 4, where DC's offense started picking up, and they executed the playbook and the plays they had quite well. So Jordan Ta'amu's another name. I'm more interested at AJ McCarron, though. Quinn Dormady, another name against Arlington. It is a rough matchup for him against that Arlington defense, but still Orlando has to win. Dormady's made that offense look good. That offense actually looks good. We just saw him knock out DC, which is crazy. And he drove the ball down the field a lot. The biggest XFL DFS performance we've seen all season, 48 fantasy points. Had a hell of a game overall. So he's another option. I prefer him over Ta'amu at this point, but I think it's very close. Just AJ McCarron right now stands out the most. Jalen McGlennon in 9,200 had a very impressive game last week against San Antonio. They ran the RPO really good. Watching that game, it just seemed like San Antonio had no way of stopping that RPO. When they weren't running the RPO, McGlennon threw the ball pretty good down the field. So Vegas against St. Louis, we saw them play a couple of weeks ago. McGlennon wasn't the quarterback, but St. Louis kind of ran that score up. Both quarterbacks that were in that game are either hurt or traded, so McGlennon now takes over, and that's going to be an interesting one to see. I would imagine Luis Perez is going to be starting for Arlington this week. They have to win. San Antonio is right behind them. If they lose to Orlando, Orlando is right behind them as well. So Arlington needs to win. Their offense needs to... They need to score. They got to find a game where they can score. They go off of his old numbers. Drew Plitt. Like, against Seattle, they put up 15 points. But other than that, like, all season, they haven't really done much. Their offense, especially, has not done much. Luis Perez hopefully could be that guy to elevate Arlington's offense, but it's very scary right now for Arlington if they lose against Orlando. I think that'll be a close game. We saw a very close game when they first played each other, 10-9. But Luis Perez, I would imagine, is a starter at 88. And for that, I don't mind that, playing against arguably the worst defense in the XFL. And I only say arguably against Vegas is the only competition, but I still have Orlando as the worst defense. Cole McDonald, 8,500 against San Antonio. Very disappointing game against St. Louis last week. Just overall, has a opportunity for a bounce back game here against San Antonio, but Houston's offense has not looked good. And you could say it's either that Seattle game triggered it or losing John Trey Kirkland triggered it. I don't know, but Houston's offense is in a big time struggle right now. And I don't know what to come out of it. San Antonio, the quarterback situation is very interesting as of what's going to happen. Jack Cohen was out last week. still banged up. We learned Kurt Benkert has 3 fractured ribs, I believe. He might not play against Houston. And then Juwan Pass, 6,400 would be the last quarterback there if both Cohen and Benkert are out at 6,400. It's not looking good for Pass if he is the quarterback. So just to recap, pretty much right now that I'm looking at, AJ McCarron and Luis Perez are kind of my 2 that I'm targeting for quarterbacks. Running backs, Abram Smith 10-3 against Seattle. I don't mind that at all. I just think I'd rather pay for some of these other running backs on this list for a cheaper price. But overall, I mean, Abram Smith has not disappointed, so it's not a bad play at all. But if you're paying up for one of your quarterbacks, the wide receiver prices are starting to get adjusted. You're going to have to find value somewhere. And running back's one of those positions you could find a little value this week. Brian Hill, mentioned how much of a dual threat he is. See, week 6 against Vegas, gets 14 fantasy points, and he should be in line for another good game. Vegas didn't score, so St. Louis really didn't have to do a whole lot. They just had to not turn the ball over, which A.J. McCarron does pretty well. Brian Hill, though, has struggled lately at turning the ball over. But I think this is a good bounce-back opportunity for him. Max Borghi at 9-1 against San Antonio. The matchup is good. Devion Smith, though, at 8,000 against Orlando is a matchup that I'm looking at. Even the Week 3 matchup, 49 yards against Orlando, but that offense did not look good. Lately, with some of the matchups they've had, Seattle, San Antonio, he's gotten there with the points. I think adding someone like Luis Perez only benefits him even more. And then the huge game-changing pickup from Seattle is Phillip Lindsay, signed with the Sea Dragons. I imagine he's going to play. Like, they didn't bring him in. He didn't sign there to not play, especially with only 3 games left in the regular season. Obviously, Seattle is fighting for a playoff spot. But, I mean, even against this DC defense, you're talking about a guy in the NFL that was very successful as a running back. He wasn't a must-see running back, a top running back talent, but I'd say he had a very good running back career. Obviously, getting into some situations where he had to split backfields and stuff like that. He wasn't a dominant running back, but he was very efficient at times in the NFL, and I think this is a great signing for Seattle and the XFL as a whole. I think this is going to be something that we see in the future, hopefully. I think the XFL, as it continues on and goes years and there's more sustainability for the XFL and people aren't just afraid that the XFL is going to fail again, that it's going to progress, you might see a lot more moves like this happening to where you have fringe players that are on their way out of the NFL. And when I say out, I mean no team really wants to pick them out. Signing with the XFL to show that they still have that talent. You start to see a drop-off in players, especially running backs, as the age goes up. This gives them another opportunity where a team like Seattle loses their top running back in Morgan Ellison. No guys have really stepped up for Seattle. TJ Hammonds has looked good. But getting someone like Phillip Lindsay is game-changing. I expect some high ownership on him, though, especially with his price tag at $7,800. But Jaquez Patrick's at $6,800 against Houston. I'm very nervous about that matchup. I just look for him to get a lot of receptions and checkdowns to try to boost his fantasy points in that matchup. Jermaine Martin, at 5,700, I like Darrington too much to commit to Jermaine Martin. I'd rather go Darrington. If you were to pick an Orlando running back, I'd rather go Darrington. Other than that, there's not a lot that really stands out to me. Obviously, if you go to Vegas, you look at Rod Smith. I mean, had a pretty good game last week, I'd say. But I'm more of a John Lovett fan myself. I think consistently over the year, especially with the receiving work, he's just stood out more, and plus saving the price there as well. So now we go to the wide receiver and tight end, and like I said, prices are getting adjusted quite well. So Greer Pearson at 11.4 against DC. I like this. I think this is a good game for him to have a crazy good game. You look at week 1 against them, 12 for 95. 1 touchdown on the year for Pearson, which is crazy to me. I'd say probably a top 5 talent in the XFL. 1 touchdown so far. Josh Gordon, Blake Jackson, the running game, stealing a lot of those touchdowns. But overall, I think this is a really big game for Shakir Pearson, where it's a must-win for Seattle. Someone like him to step up. Akeem Butler against Vegas at 10-8, yes. I'd still lean Darius Shepard. I've continued to say since he's got pretty much that game against DC, he has been included heavily in the offense. He's still a crazy threat on the kick return. And I'd rather pay $2,000 less for Darius Shepard. Akeem Butler is still, like, you could still go Akeem Butler, and I wouldn't be upset with you for picking Butler over Shepard. It's just the work that Shepard's got lately, plus his work in the return game, and the price that I'd prefer Shepard over Butler. But I, yet again, don't think you can go wrong with picking Butler as well. Jeff Badette against St. Louis. This one's going to be interesting. See his number last week with McLennan. Obviously gets banged up and out pretty early, which is worrisome if you're a Vegas fan, even though your season is pretty much over. I just don't think... the only reason that I like some Vegas players this week, and with Badette being out, it limits my Vegas player liking, is those guys are fighting to just prove that they have talent enough to hopefully get a call by an NFL team this season. So don't think that the Vegas Vipers are just going to lay down and die. Like, by all means, St. Louis could do exactly what they did a couple of weeks ago. But remember, these guys, a lot of these guys in this league are wanting to get to the NFL. Some have other reasons of wanting to be in the XFL. But for the most part, these guys are trying to make the best out of their opportunity, hopefully play well enough to get that call to an NFL roster. So, by all means, Vegas players are still going to try. They're not just going to lay down. It doesn't mean the results will be there, though. Dante Burnett here at 9,900. Again, San Antonio, I think this is a good game for him. His pricing is kind of high for his performance lately. He's been one of the more consistent wide receivers in the league. But, I mean, he's pretty much been a lot of touchdown dependent too for some of his scores this season. So that is worrisome for that 9,900 price tag. Josh Gordon, just when you think Josh Gordon is falling off and you're worried about Josh Gordon, he gets that crazy touchdown last week. Good game. Another bounce back opportunity for him. Blake Jackson has been stepping up with what Josh Gordon has not provided for the team. But I think I'd still lean Pearson number 1, Gordon number 2, Jackson number 3, just like the pricing is. I mentioned Darius Shepard already. Cody Latimer, I've been on the Cody Latimer hype train all year, and he is not disappointed at all. Even with a 9.7 against Houston, 10.9 against Seattle, I mean, this guy continues to be a reliable piece for Orlando. Normandy really likes him, just like all the quarterbacks have, of being one of the more consistently good targets for that offense. Landon Akers, I think, is a guy that's being underlooked right now. You look at his numbers, and this is being on San Antonio, and their offense does not look good. Like, their offense is, I'm gonna probably say it, but their offense is gonna look worse than Arlington's here shortly. They have not looked good in weeks. They have not looked good. That offense has looked terrible. Houston's offense has been on the decline. San Antonio's offense has been on the decline. But Landon Akers is a piece at 8,200 that I'm okay with. Charleston Rambo, I mentioned, I think it was back in week 3. Yeah, week 3, 3 for 29. And that was the start of him trying to be included in Orlando's offense. Week 4 has the crazy good game, but I wanted more consistency, and he's gotten a little more consistency since. But a rough matchup against Arlington here. But like I mentioned, Dormady has elevated that offense. Geronimo Allison, Martavis Bryant, I just can't. The NFL talent is just, they're not there. They're not where they should be, whether it's on them or Vegas. But they just have not lived up to their expectations, in my opinion. And I'm not looking at them. I don't know how I missed Lucky Jackson here at 7,500. Yet another guy that I've been on all season, and he's just been balling out lately for DC. Another game where he could ball out again for him. Been one of their more consistent, one of their best wide receivers on the team. Some other guys are stepping up, like Chris Blair, another name that's stepping up. But Lucky Jackson, yes, Lucky Jackson, Cody Latimer, like those have been guys that I've been on all season, and their prices are finally where they should be. But Sal Cannella at 7,000 against Orlando, yes. I believe having someone like Luis Perez is going to elevate Sal Cannella, and he is going to have a very good game against Orlando. That is one of my predictions. I am getting Sal Cannella in my lineup this week. That is for sure. Travell Harris against San Antonio. I don't mind it, the pricing there. I'd probably go Burnett. I'd probably pay down, though, for some other talent like Cedric Byrd. 5,800 is a name where he's been a very undervalued receiver for Houston, been a very consistent guy to just get them yards, be a guy that if they need on a third down, someone to catch the ball. Cedric Byrd has been one of those names, and I'd rather pay down 1,200 for Cedric Byrd over Harris. Astrodfs, another guy I was on early in the season, and with just how good Darius Shepard and Hakeem Butler have been, he's just kind of fell behind those rankings there. So Astrodfs is, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to get away from him. I mentioned Cedric Byrd, mentioned Chris Blair. Those are two of those value pieces that you start to try to look up to get in your lineup. And two guys that I like having. Other than that, there's not a whole lot. I think Fred Brown here is another name to kind of look at as a guy that is a boomer bust type situation for San Antonio. But I mean, for the price point, that's what you're getting out of that. So the only other name that I kind of see down here is Brandon Arcondo. Sorry about that. Is a name where he's been a piece to get some receptions, but at the 4,600 price tag, it's just a matchup against Orlando that I like, and getting a different quarterback that brings opportunities that I kind of like for Arlington for some sneaky value plays this week. Now for defenses, DC against Seattle, like I don't mind paying for it, and you look at what they did week 1 against Seattle, and we all know Seattle turns the ball over, and that could be their downfall here in this matchup. I don't know if I want to pay 4,900 for the top defense when there's some other options here against some underperforming offenses. So, for instance, St. Louis against Vegas, 4,800. We look at what they did against Vegas, 15. Granted, different quarterback, different situation, but St. Louis is going to be home, and we all know how dangerous that is. Arlington against Orlando is another one. I've said Arlington's defense has carried them. Some injuries have definitely hurt them recently, but against a team like Orlando. But Orlando's offense has drastically improved lately. But I'm looking at Houston's defense. So with the injuries going right now for San Antonio, Houston's still had a very good defense all year. I know their offense hasn't done what they've usually done, and their defense hasn't been as locked down lately as they were in the beginning of the season, but I'm looking at them as another piece as well. So hope you guys did enjoy the video. I will have at least two more videos going out for you guys this week, so stay tuned for that, and I will see you in the next one.